is remembered as a military genius, a shrewd politician, and a man who helped shape the Roman Empire. But behind the statues and speeches lies a much darker legacy, one soaked in blood, fear, and cold strategic brutality. In his conquest of Gaul, Caesar didn't just outmaneuver enemies on the battlefield. He dismantled entire cultures with psychological warfare, deception, and sheer terror. This wasn't just war. It was domination by any means necessary. So how did Caesar conquer an entire region of fierce tribes who outnumbered him at nearly every turn? What were the ruthless tactics that ensured Roman victory, and at what human cost? Today, we're breaking down 10 brutal tactics Julius Caesar used to conquer Gaul, and trust me, once you hear what he did, you'll never see him the same way again. 1. Divide and conquer tribal alliances. Caesar knew that a united Gaul would crush his legions, so he expertly played tribal rivalries against one another. He'd side with one tribe against another, promise protection, then betray both when it suited Rome. By constantly shifting alliances, Caesar kept the Gauls fighting among themselves while he advanced undisturbed. 2. Public executions to instill fear. Mercy was rare in Caesar's campaign. After a battle, he'd often order mass executions, sometimes in public squares, sometimes with entire towns watching. This wasn't just punishment. It was a calculated message. Resist Rome, and your people won't just die, they'll become a warning to others. 3. Psychological warfare through false treaties. Caesar frequently used diplomacy as a weapon. He would promise peace, agree to terms, and then break them the moment his troops were positioned for a swift attack. His ability to manipulate and deceive tribal leaders left many Gauls paralyzed by uncertainty, never knowing if the next handshake would be followed by a sword. 4. Scorched earth strategy. When facing resistance, Caesar burned everything in his path: homes, crops, and food stores. This ensured no tribe could recover quickly. It also created a refugee crisis, overwhelming neighboring regions and spreading chaos that Caesar used to his advantage. 5. Targeting civilians and non-combatants. Unlike modern warfare ethics, Caesar didn't spare civilians. Entire villages were wiped out, sometimes just to send a message. He knew that if the families and homes of warriors were vulnerable, fear would spread faster than his legions could march. 6. Using local informants as pawns. Caesar recruited local Gauls as scouts, translators, and informants, but not out of trust. Once they served their purpose, many were executed or abandoned. He used their knowledge to navigate enemy terrain, and then eliminated them to erase witnesses to his betrayal. 7. Turning defeated tribes into weapons. Rather than annihilate every tribe, Caesar often absorbed the survivors, forcing them to fight for Rome. These former enemies became expendable frontline troops, used to soften enemy defenses or die in place of Roman soldiers. It was brutal efficiency. Make your enemies kill your other enemies. 8. Siege of Alesia, starvation, and encirclement. At Alesia, Caesar trapped Vercingetorix and 80,000 Gauls inside a fortress, then built a massive wall around it. But that wasn't enough. He built a second wall behind him to hold off reinforcements. With no food getting in and no escape, thousands starved. It was a tactical masterpiece and a humanitarian nightmare. 9. Forced labor and enslavement. Conquered Gauls weren't just defeated, they were often chained and sold by the tens of thousands. Caesar's conquests flooded Roman markets with slaves, funding further wars and political campaigns. Each victory made him richer and more powerful at the cost of an entire people's freedom. 10. Public displays of mutilation and humiliation. To break enemy morale, Caesar paraded mutilated prisoners through conquered towns. Some were forced to walk in chains during Roman celebrations. Others were mutilated to serve as walking warnings. The goal wasn't just to win, it was to ensure no one ever dared to resist Rome again. Julius Caesar's conquest of Gaul wasn't just a military victory, it was a masterclass in ruthless domination. He didn't just defeat his enemies, he broke them, manipulated them, and used fear as his most powerful weapon. Was Caesar a genius? Absolutely. But that genius came with a terrifying price. His tactics reshaped Europe but left scars that would never heal. History remembers the victors, but today, we remember how they won. If you found this video eye-opening, hit that like button and subscribe for more brutal and untold chapters of history. The past is darker than you think.